Who Has the Worst Destiny in Ever After High by Holly. You know, Ever After High is special to me. It's something I've watched since I was a kid. My auntie first got me into Ever After High when I started watching My Little Pony. Oh, then from Ever After High I went to Monster High. Then from Monster High I went to Wings Club. Bro, we like this. Wings Club everywhere. I watched all of the
The
original
concept of
Winx.
destiny is a
Let's
scary
see.
one, isn't it? The idea that something is going to happen in your life no matter what choices you make. That an outcome has already been decided for you, and try as you might, any road you take will lead you straight to it.
I
Because
guess
you
that
can
can be
never outrun
terrifying.
it. Sometimes I wonder if I
I
have a
mean, me,
destiny.
I just
If
go
my fate
along
has
with the
already been
wind,
decided
so
for me long before I was even born.
I don't
If
really
I
care
do, I
much
can
about
only
it.
hope it's a good destiny. But even more so, sometimes I wonder what it would be like to have a bad destiny. In July of
They tell you
2019, Mattel
everything
launched
is
Ever After
waiting
High, a
for
fairy tale
you.
inspired fashion doll line centered around the teenage children of characters from classic stories and legends. It was promoted as a sort of sister line to Mattel's wildly successful Monster High, but very quickly, Ever After High found its own
Man,
identity and
Monster
place
High
in the
was
market.
amazing.
Within just a few years, the brand
Bro,
had
the new designs, they
proved itself to be
butchered
successful
my
enough to
mans.
expand beyond
Well,
dolls and into webisodes,
my
books,
girls.
films, and other media, most of which was built around the
Bruh,
franchise's central
Claudine
conflict.
looks
In this
so,
world, all students are
I'm
expected to follow in their
mid
parents' footsteps to
in the
ensure their
new
fairy tale stories
seasons, in the
continue being
reboots.
told. Some students, known as the Royals, embrace this responsibility and strive to fulfill their predetermined destinies, while other students, known as the Rebels, reject it and want the freedom to write their own stories. This setup
I
naturally
mean,
lends
yeah,
itself to
if I
exploring
don't
the
have to
wide
do
variety of
anything and I'm
perspectives and
basically
challenges
rich and
surrounding fate,
famous,
legacy,
I
and the cost
take
of
it.
carrying a story you didn't choose, especially for the characters who don't exactly have an ending worth looking forward to. There are plenty of characters in the Ever After High universe that aren't destined for a happily ever after. Tiny the Giant falls to his death. Melody Piper will
Eesh.
lure children away to presumably their death, and Briar Beauty will sleep for 100 years, waking up to all her friends elderly or gone. But there's a handful of characters who have especially bad destinies. Fairy tales can be notoriously gruesome and cruel,
What
and
the,
though the world of Ever
what
After
the,
might try to
wait,
hide
what
that
was the
fact,
old, what was
behind the
that
polished
first one?
facade, some students are forced.
Why was she chopping
There's a
off her
handful of
feet?
characters who have especially bad destinies. Fairy tales can be
The movie, The Ugly Step. Oh, oh, I think I've seen shorts of this. Oh, this is the Cinderella ugly stepsister trying to fit in. Oh, I've definitely seen a short of this. Bro, you know, this is why I read manhwa nowadays. Like, there's this one manhwa about this woman being reincarnated as Cinderella's evil stepmother, and instead of hating on Cinderella because she's beautiful, she's actually helping them. She loves all her kids equally. Bro, the closure I can't get from watching these things, I either get them from manhwa or fanfics. And I gotta curate the manhwa and fanfics I read about them because they're even more messed up than the original
notoriously
somehow.
gruesome and cruel, and though the world of Ever After
Eesh,
might try to hide that fact, behind the polished facade, some students are forced to live with the knowledge
damn.
that their stories are full of suffering.
Uh,
Whether it's burning to death
Cutting
or
your
being tortured
feet
and
off.
traumatized, these are the endings that make you stop and wonder how anyone in the world of Ever After could possibly be expected to willingly fulfill them.
Nah,
Because
that
these
principal
are
was
the worst of
tweaking. I don't know
destinies
what
in
the
Ever After
fuck he
High.
meant. Raven had a point. Jesus Christ, I don't want to live in
But
Ever
first,
After
a
High.
quick note. In the world of Ever After High, destinies have always been a little bit iffy. The very laws of the universe are structured around stories continuing themselves, meaning that fairy tale characters must have children so that their tales can go on being told. So characters can't really die, and therefore their stories are significantly more family friendly, or as I like to call them, Ever Afterified. This is alongside the fact that the characters' destinies are a lot less set in stone than the beginning of the series makes them out to be. In the book Next Up
Yeah.
Villain, Headmaster Grimm made it clear that the characters can change their destinies. And at the end of the Way to Wonderland film, the characters' destinies are returned to them,
Bro,
allowing them
this
to
was
write their
peak
own
back when I
stories. But
watched
we're going
it.
to pretend that literally none of that is true. In this video, we will be looking at the characters' destinies based on their original fairy tale. And
Let me think here. We all know Raven had one of the worst ones. I mean, bro. Like the mirror show literally shows her getting food thrown at her and all of that, and shows her in chains. Like I would
discussing them in a
never.
way that assumes the characters will
You
die
got
and
chains
doesn't.
around my
So
neck?
yes, characters can
No.
canonically avoid avoid their horrific fates, and their ever-after-ified endings might not even be that horrific. But this is my video, and I think the concept is more interesting when we look at the original tales. Got it? Good. So with all that said, let's actually start the video.
It's Raven Queen. My favorite character. Call me basic, but of course I love Raven. She just sparks that rebellion in people. I love it. Bro, this is what I'm talking about. Do you see this? This is crazy. No one in their right minds would want this. Also, her mom is trapped in a mirror world. She'd probably be done the same.
Franchise and the sort of leader of the rebel side. She debuted in May of 2013 in the very first webisode The World of Ever After High before receiving her first doll 2 months later as part of the first wave of signature or core dolls. And as The World of Ever After High's poster girl for rewriting Destiny, it's unsurprising that Raven Queen is often one of the first characters brought up when discussing who has the worst ending. Raven Queen is the daughter of the Evil Queen, the villain from the German fairy tale Snow White, first published by the Brothers Grimm in 1812. And while Snow White is
the
one of
Brothers
the most famous
Grimm.
fairy tales in history, has been
I did not know of the Brothers Grimm until I actually watched Ever After High. Like, I watched the original Cinderella and the original Snow White, but I've never actually known about that.
Realistic account, most famously of course by Disney in 1937, almost every version has one thing in common. The Evil Queen suffers one of the most horrific punishments in fairy tale history.
If I remember correctly, she gets thrown off
characters agree to follow their destiny,
a cliff.
Legacy Day, they are able to see their fate via the storybook of legends. And on this day, Raven is shown she'll be shunned by her peers, cast out of society, and eventually imprisoned for life.
No. Do you see this? We gotta go by this. Boo! Get out! Kill yourself! Oh, bro, no!
Her peers, cast out of
Look at how smug Apple is being. What are the... Bruh. This whole fate is doo-doo. Homeless with... Nah. Nah. This is why I think she has it the worst.
As her destiny based on her original tale. In the original Grimm version of Snow White, after failing to have the titular princess murdered and later infamously poisoning her with an apple, the Evil Queen is caught and...
I don't remember. I watched this one guy who shows not realistic. Anyway, what actually happened in the fairy tales instead of the Disney versions, and I think they put flaming slippers onto her feet and made her dance until she died. Like iron slippers straight out of the furnace.
Her punishment? Well, during Snow White's wedding, she is forced to wear a pair of red-hot iron shoes and dance until she collapses and dies. So Raven Queen's destiny is quite...
How are they the heroes with that?
Mind you,
Heavens no.
Body can physically no longer keep her alive. Raven Queen is an incredibly kind, generous, and empathetic character who doesn't even want to poison Apple White, the daughter of Snow White, in the first place. So of course she wouldn't want to face the awful punishment for doing so either. But at the end of the day, she won't have a choice.
Ever after starts now.
Jesus. Why are we letting our kids listen to these stories? They're so dark. You sit back and you think about it for 1 second, it is so unbelievably dark.
Michelle Mermaid is one of the lesser-known Ever After High characters.
Daughter of the Little Mermaid.
The cast, with her debuting in 2016 during the franchise's not-so-super-popular rebrand. But she's definitely an underrated character. She's shy and prefers being in her mermaid form over her human one.
I don't even remember her.
Talented singer. Not unlike her mother, the Little Mermaid from the 1837 Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale of the same name. Like the story of Snow White, most modern audiences were introduced to The Little Mermaid thanks to the Disney retelling from 1999. But as usual, Disney took some creative liberties when it came to adapting the fairy tale in order to make it more appealing to younger audiences. The core premise of the tale remained the same. After saving a prince from drowning, a young mermaid gives up her voice in exchange for legs so that she can go to the human world and be with him. But
which is kind of stupid. I mean, love is not that strong. I'm just gonna say right now, love is not that strong.
Unlike Disney's version, in the original Anderson tale and therefore in Michelle's Destiny, when the Little Mermaid gives her voice to
And
the
it's
sea
not
witch
even
when she
love,
moves
it's
the
more of a
lakes, it
crush.
isn't magically stored in a glowing seashell, but rather the mermaid's tongue is cut out, and she drinks a potion that is so painful it's described as feeling like a sword passing through her body. And just for a bit of extra fun, her human legs make her a great dancer, but every step she takes feels like she's walking on knives. But at least she still has the man she loves. After spending time together, the prince and the Little Mermaid become incredibly close. He finds her indescribably beautiful, and despite her pain, she dances for him as an act of devotion. And as the tale nears its end, it seems like Michelle will get the love she desires.
Nope, she
happily ever
doesn't.
after.
Because these people are sadists.
Until the prince
They're
confesses he can
sadistic.
never marry her. He admits that he loves her but is saving his heart for another, and goes on to wed a neighboring princess believing she is the girl that saved him from drowning. A marriage that, according to the sea witch's bargain, condemns the Little Mermaid to death. The mermaid sisters do try to save her. They exchange their beautiful hair for a dagger that, if Michelle uses to kill the prince, will allow her to return to the ocean as a mermaid and reunite with her family. But she just
But
can't
she
bring herself
doesn't.
to kill her love. Instead, at the end of her
Again.
story, Michelle will throw herself into the ocean and dissolve into beautiful sea foam. And though she does become a spirit who can earn a soul, something mermaids don't have, and go to heaven by doing good deeds for hundreds of years, considering all the pain she suffers before that, I don't know if I'd be happy.
Nah. No. Okay. She becomes a spirit that can gain a soul and go to heaven after working off whatever for thousands. No. You see, the people who write this just want. They're the type of people who want to watch people suffer. They get erect watching you suffer. Like there's no other way. They explode. My boy, come everywhere watching people suffer. Ditties, I tell you. What the hell do you mean that after suffering all that in life, she has to suffer more in the afterlife just to go to heaven? Man, heaven isn't even worth it at that point.
With that ending. So Michelle
Just
will
kill
sacrifice her life
me.
with her family,
Oblivion.
suffer
Send me
physical
to
pain, and have
fucking
her heart
oblivion.
broken, only to die anyway. But I mean, at least Michelle dies before her suffering can get any worse. Which sounds great until you remember that surviving suffering means you have to learn to live with it.
Yup. Cersei Hood, my second favorite character, and then Madeline Hatter. Mainly, the only reason why she's my second favorite is just because of the lore. The big, the big bad wolf getting with the.
Cerise Hood is by far
Oof.
my favorite Ever After High character, and that's mainly because of how complex
There we
and
go,
nuanced
twin.
she is as a person.
Mm-hmm.
She's loyal to and protective of the people she loves, but she's also incredibly standoffish and is forced to hide a pretty big secret, one that she's had since she debuted with the franchise's launch. But it's also always been interesting to me that as the daughter of Little Red Riding Hood, Cerise will survive her destiny, yet she still identifies as a rebel. So why is that? The Little Red Riding Hood story
That's
is believed to have first been printed by Charles Perrault in the 17th century before later being popularized by the Brothers Grimm in the 19th. And based on Ever After High's world building, the latter of which is the story Cerise is set to live out. But in both versions of the story, Little Red is a young girl in a red cape who is sent into the woods to deliver food to her sick grandmother.
You think my boy Big Bad Wolf is a diddler? You calling my wolf boy a diddler? Ah, man. I'm sorry. We can't be twins no more, Big Bad Wolf.
On her journey, she
I used to like you out of all the other Cocomelon characters when I was forced to watch it.
telling the wolf the location of her grandmother's cottage, the wolf rushes ahead. There, he eats the old woman and disguises himself in her clothing, lying in wait by the time Little Red arrives. And though Little Red does question her supposed grandmother's
Bro, look
unusually
at that
large ears
baby.
and eyes, the wolf is able to brush off Red's concerns. Before finally, Little Red notes what big teeth she has, and the wolf reveals himself, admitting all the better to eat you up with. And as you could guess, the wolf eats her. If this were Perrault's version of the story, which is a much more obvious warning of the dangers of older men taking advantage of young girls, that would mark the end. Cerise's
Wait,
destiny
that's what it was
simply
about?
be-
You know, I'm the smartest man in the world, but I've never said I was the fastest, okay? I'm a little slow. I'm smart, but still slow. I thought it was just stranger danger.
devoured by a wolf after accidentally leading him straight to her
But then
grandmother,
again, I
which
didn't
on a
think about it
psychological
really
level is
hard.
certainly a lot, but the Brothers Grimm chose to extend upon that ending. In their version, a huntsman hears the wolf snoring and quickly realizes what happened, cutting open the wolf's stomach and rescuing both somehow still alive victims.
Yeesh.
Little Red Riding Hood then fills the wolf's stomach with rocks so that when he wakes up, the weight causes him to collapse and die. So Cerise will survive, though she'll undeniably be traumatized and likely feel somewhat responsible for what happened to her grandmother. And of course, she'll
Yeah.
have to live with the memory of her and her grandmother quite literally being eaten alive and then watching a wolf die a pretty violent death. Which, when you think about it like that, makes sense as to why she's a rebel and wants to write her own destiny.
Also,
That and
the
way
wolf
her
is her
secret
dad.
impacts her future. But hey,
Exactly.
maybe she lives. Though the same
I
couldn't be said
ruined the
for other major
foreshadowing.
player in her story.
Poor Cerise. It is their destiny to be enemies. What's so exciting?
Me.
Ooh, I ruined the foreshadowing. Bad wolf.
Ramona Badwolf, the daughter of the Big
Ramona
Bad Wolf, debuted in
Badwolf.
2016 and
She's
like Cerise,
fine.
is destined to live out the Little Red Riding Hood tale, but in her case as the villain. Though interestingly, it's also implied in the webisodes that she's also destined to live out the Three Little Pigs story.
And I'll blow your house away.
The Three Little Pigs is
No.
a popular English fable dating back to the 1800s. And
I
features
like the Three Little
who
Pigs.
each build a house of different materials, only for each of them to be blown down by the Big Bad Wolf. That is until the third pig's house, which is built of brick and therefore unable to be destroyed. Out of rage, the Big Bad Wolf attempts to enter the house via
Bro.
the chimney.
If she has to do both, those are just incredibly painful ways to die. If she doesn't die from the first one, she'll have to do the second one. And definitely die during the second one. Whichever one comes first is still painful.
Only to fall into a pot of water, boiled to death, and be eaten. Depending on the version of the story you read,
Jesus.
the wolf may also eat two of the three little pigs, which sucks for them and their destiny. But in almost every iteration of the fable, Ramona is destined to die a slow and painful death. Not unlike her destiny in the Little Red Riding Hood tale. As you should recall from literally a couple of minutes ago, Ramona will eat the grandmother and Little Red Riding Hood, have her stomach cut open, and die. So Ramona has not one, but two violent destinies. Which is bad enough
Jesus.
as it is, but there's one detail of her Little Red Riding Hood fate I haven't mentioned. Of course, the Big Bad Wolf eats Little Red Riding Hood, which means Ramona and Cerise's destinies intersect in a pretty gruesome way. But what makes it even more horrific is that if Ramona follows her destiny,
She'll have to eat her
she will kill
sister.
her own sister.
Jesus.
In the October 2016 webisode A Big Bad Secret, it was revealed that Cerise Hood and Ramona Badwolf were sisters, with Little Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf having secretly married. The two met while studying at Ever After High when they were forced to work together on a theatre project. And whilst they initially didn't get along, they quickly fell in love, and as revealed in the September 2014 webisode, Cerise's Picnic Panic went on to marry and have children. This is Cerise's secret and why Cerise is a rebel. Cerise has wolf ears and werewolf-like abilities passed down from her father. And at the
Man,
end of the day,
Cheshire
both
Cat
her and
over there
Ramona technically never should have
sneaking.
been born. Their literal existence is denying fate. Oh, and it's also worth mentioning that even if they fulfill the ever afterified version of their tale, where no one gets eaten and no one dies, they will both still live a pretty miserable future. Due to their family secret, the two will
Oh,
always have
yeah.
to play the role of
They
secret
always
enemies.
do.
And for the rest of time, their descendants will have to live out the same horrible fairy tale, knowing that all the players share a bloodline. Which is why
Jesus.
both Ramona and Cerise don't want to fulfill their destinies. They would have to commit terrible acts of violence against each other and tear apart their family in the process. Or best case scenario, they have to live the lie that they hate each other for the rest of their lives. So they're not rebels for themselves, they're rebels for each other, fighting so that neither of them have to live out their horrible destinies.
Bro, what is up with siblings and horrible destinies in all of these cartoons, shows, and animes? Jesus. Just let two siblings be best buddies.
If anyone knew the Big Bad Wolf was married to Little Red,
They flip their crowns.
Jesus. I've actually never seen the Swan Duchess.
From the beginning of the franchise, though unlike most of the other characters, Duchess isn't destined to live out a traditional fairy tale or fable. Instead,
I
Duchess
don't
was
know
the
anything
daughter of the
about
Swan
that.
Princess from the 1875 to 76
Yeah, the
ballet
Swan
Lake,
Princess is what it's
composed by
called.
Tchaikovsky. The performance, which is believed to have been based on the story written by Johann Karl August Musars, is one of the most famous ballets ever, both because of its now iconic soundtrack and story, but also because of its pretty morbid ending. Meaning Duchess is one of the few characters that identifies as a royal despite having a horrible destiny. Like her mother, Duchess Duchess is destined to be cursed by an evil sorcerer. By day she will be a beautiful swan and by night a human, with the only way to break the curse being an eternal vow of love from someone who truly cares for her. And thankfully she will get that. In the story, a prince falls in love with the swan princess and her with him, so after he promises to break her curse, he invites her to his ball. But alas, Swan Lake is ultimately a tragedy. And when the sorcerer
Why?
sends his daughter to the ball disguised as the swan princess, the prince falls for the trick, unknowingly breaking his vow and dooming Duchess to be a swan forever. When the prince realizes his mistake, he will beg the swan princess for her forgiveness, but not wanting to live the rest of her life as a swan, Duchess instead will choose to die. Though, like Michelle, there is a silver lining. Sort of. The prince will choose to die as well, and the two lovers will reunite in heaven where they spend eternity together. And their sacrifices will inspire the other swans to rebel against the sorcerer, which causes their curses to be broken. So once again, a character is destined to have her heart broken and die not long after. Fun. Duchess Swan, like Briar Beauty, is one of the few royals who at some point in Ever After High's run had doubts about following their destiny. She's quite bitter towards other princesses, and in the 2015 book Next Top Villain, Duchess begins to consider taking on the destiny of the evil queen. Though ultimately,
was it like the 4th season when she did that?
Whatever destiny she wants, which is presumably not being cursed to be a swan forever, but killing herself before it can happen.
Jesus. The gingerbread house. I don't know how bad this one could be.
Another incredibly underrated Ever After High character, and another one of my personal favorites. Ginger was first introduced in the 2014 book The Unfairest of Them All, and is a shy and kind baker who loves to make treats for her friends, despite the fact that the other students often worry they are poisoned. This, of course, is because Ginger is the daughter of the infamous witch from the 1812 German tale Hansel and Gretel, the story that condemns Ginger to her fate. In the story,
Hansel and Gretel. Where have I heard that name before? No, it's not the giant. I don't know.
By the Brothers Grimm, the titular siblings are abandoned.
This is the first one I actually don't know.
And though they initially managed to return home by following a trail of pebbles,
that and the twin princess,
again with no way to retrace their steps. So starving and desperate, they stumble upon a cottage made of sweets and quickly begin eating it, unaware that the house belongs to a witch. Ginger's future role. The witch lures them inside with the intention to eat.
Okay. Again, I've read a manhwa that's basically just this. Except the witch doesn't do anything evil to them, she just becomes their babysitter. And most likely, their step older sister? I mean, in the manhwa, their parents are dead. They're living with their brother, who's the Duke, and the Duke doesn't like magic or stuff.
The two children, presumably as she's done plenty of times.
There's a lot of manhwas about these.
Hansel and Gretel are able to trick the witch into going inside her own oven, where she burns alive, allowing Hansel and Gretel to escape, but subjecting the witch and therefore Ginger to an incredibly slow and painful death.
Wait, Ginger is the witch?
This manner is often considered one of the most infamously painful forms of death known to man. In ancient Greece, there was a torture device known as the Brazen Bull, in which allegedly...
I know the Brazen Bull. Yeah, you are sick. Whoever thought up of that, you're a sick individual. Like cooking them slowly alive and making their howls a bull's noise. Jesus.
Screams emulated the sound of a bull. Later in history, Gyorgy Loja, a rebel leader in the Kingdom of Hungary, was executed by being forced to sit on a heated iron throne while wearing a heated iron crown in the 16th century. And of course, there's being burnt at the stake, which is most often thought of in the context of witch hunts.
Burn the witch.
Was one of the most common ancient forms of execution.
Oh yeah.
So considering how kind Ginger is and how her greatest
and people say humanity isn't barbaric,
her death certainly feels like a disproportionately cruel ending. She wants to live a life outside her mother's legacy and hates the idea of hurting people, yet she is destined to become a cannibal, not the Kesha kind, eat children and die a slow and painful death. And like Raven, Cerise, and Ramona, even in the Ever After-fied version of her story where the witch doesn't die, Ginger is still going to be unhappy. She will be ostracized and driven out of society, and everyone around her will refuse to eat what she bakes because they fear she will try to eat them. All things considered, it's no wonder she hates her destiny.
Man, I hate all of these destinies.
Follow your story. I know.
You gotta see this.
After looking at the most tragic, gruesome, and emotionally devastating destinies in Ever After High, the question naturally arises of which character has the worst fate. And
alright, let me rank it right here, okay? Here's my official ranking. I'm going from the one I would never want to be on to the one I tolerate. So first, yeah, we're going with the gingerbread house. Top, number one, gingerbread house. Number two, Little Mermaid. Number three, Raven. Number four, Red Red Riding Hood, Caesar. And then I guess, yeah, the Swan Duchess and Ramona Badwolf. Swan Duchess is like the last, okay? That one I can do. It's no biggie. It's just it's tame compared to everything else on this list, okay? It's tame. All right? You just gotta tie a rope and take it with you to glory. That's all. The other ones, heavens no.
Ultimately, that answer will depend
Also,
on
I'd
how
rather
good the
freeze to
formula
death
works.
than
If the worst is
burn
measured
to
based on
death,
basic
so
pain,
yeah,
then
no,
gingerbread house
I'm
likely
never
takes the cake.
taking
Like,
that.
having to eat children to survive and then being burnt alive in an oven is a terrible way to go,
Also,
especially when
eating
it's a death caused
children,
by these little
heavens
shits.
no.
If the character who goes through the most emotional pain has
I
the,
mean,
especially when it's a death caused by these little shits.
look at him. I'm sorry, he just looks so hateable, and she looks way too pompous. It's like one of those kids that you know nothing about. You just look at them, and you can already tell they're little shits.
If the character who goes through the most emotional pain has the worst destiny, it's probably Michelle Mermaid, who watches everything and everyone she loves slip away from her only to dissolve into sea.
And then she still has to exist as a consciousness for a few hundred years.
Become a spirit who might get into heaven. Duchess also gets
Exactly.
incredibly close to her happy
No.
ending, only for it to be taken away from her at the last minute. But she does get to be reunited with her lover, something Michelle will never experience. But if we are
Yeah.
talking pure existential horror, an ending that is incredibly painful both physically and mentally, Ramona Badwolf probably has the worst destiny of all. The fact
I
that
mean,
she has
yeah,
two
you think
destinies
about
that
it in
result in
all
her
of her
horrific
ways.
death is enough of a justification behind my logic. But her Little Red Riding Hood story is especially awful. She literally has to eat her own sister and then be killed by her. That sucks. But ultimately,
All right, pull Ravens down a bit lower, and pull Ramona's on top. Second worst, just because I don't want to burn to death. Actually, I'd rather burn to death than eat my siblings. So yeah, never mind. Put hers on top. Yeah, put hers on
the
top.
point of deep diving these
Jesus.
horrible destinies isn't to rank them by suffering. It's mainly to understand why Ever After High rebels exist in the first place. The whole royal versus rebel conflict is often boiled down to the idea that those wanting to go against their predetermined destinies are selfish. But when your fate includes torture, heartbreak, cannibalism, death, losing your friends, and even more fun weekend activities, why wouldn't you want to write that story?
Exactly,
I guess if anything, looking at these destinies makes
bro.
one realize that we as real people are incredibly lucky. We get to make
Yeah.
choices, take risks, change our courses, and ultimately work towards the end we want. If destiny is
Sure,
real,
we're
in our
lucky
world,
to
it's
some
more of a
degree,
guide
not
to our life
incredibly
than a
though.
magical book that basically forces us to fulfill it. And I mean, thank God for that, because destiny f***ing sucks.
Yeah. All right. Hmm. All I've got to say is Ever After High was 100, 1,000,000, 1,000, 1,000,000,000, a gajillion times better than Descendants. The Descendants is ass compared to Ever After High.